Sechas Nazir Daf Hey. We begin with the last few lines on Daf Dalit, and we have one very brief Mishnah. First part of the Daf discusses the halacha of a Nazir Olam. The Gemara wants to know the source for the halacha that a Nazir Olam, someone who makes Nazirs forever, is allowed to cut his hair. It'll be from Avshalom. We'll have three opinions in the Brisa for how often Avshalom cut his hair, and the Gemara will try to show how each one interprets the words that the pasuk uses to describe Avshalom's activities. And then we'll get to the Mishnah, which talks about the stam, the standard length of Nazirs. So let's begin. The Gemara says, how do you know the halacha that a Nazir Olam, somebody makes Nazirs forever, that it exists and that he's allowed to cut his hair when it becomes overgrown? So the Gemara says from Avshalom. It says that Avshalom went after 40 years, Shalom went and said to the king, I'm going to go, please, to fulfill the neder, the vow that I made in Chevron. Now the Gemara assumes the neder refers to a standard neder, which is Nazirus, and that his neder was, to fulfill the vow, was that he was going to bring karbanas, because it was time for him to cut his hair, and you have to bring karbanas before you cut your hair if you're a Nazir Olam. Now we know he was a Nazir Olam because he did this every 12 months, and if he cut his hair every 12 months, it means he was a Nazir for a very long time, and that he was allowed to cut them from time to time when it became heavy. So the Gemara shows the source that he cut his hair every 12 months, and the Gemara brings a brisa which actually says it's a machlokes, three opinions as to how often he cut his hair. So the pasuk that it's all derived from is from the fact that it says Vehi mikates yamim liyamim. It was at the end of days to days, and that is when, that's the next phrase, and that's how often he cut his hair. Like it says, and he cut his hair once every miyamim liyamim. So how often is miyamim liyamim? So Gemara brings three opinions. We have the opinion of Rebbe that it's every 12 months, the opinion of Rav Nahorai that it's every 30 days, the opinion of Rav Yosi that it's every week, every Friday. So the Brisa explains what is the source of Rebbe's opinion that it's every 12 months, because it says Yamim in the Psukim describing Batei Orei Choma. That is the halacha that if someone sells a house within the walls, he can redeem his house from the person who bought it within 1 year. And the pasuk says there, Yamim Tihyeh Gevulasai. He has Yom for his redemption, and it says explicitly afterwards that Yud Bis Chedesh. It is up to 12 months. So you see, Yomim there means 12 months. Now, the Gemara does not explain Rav Nahorai's opinion. The Brisa here does not explain Rav Nahorai's opinion. The Gemara will explain it later. Then Rav Yosi, he says in the Brisa that a source is because kings and princes used to cut their hair once a week on Erev Shabbos. Okay, now the Gemara analyzes the opinions one by one. So first of all, we have the opinion of Rebbe that said that it is derived from Batei Orei Choma. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean? Rebbe learns out of Batei Orei Choma that a person who sells a house in the wall of the city is allowed to redeem it once a year after 12 months. It's not true. Rebbe holds that the pasuk there where it says Yomim means 2 days. Yomim, plural of days, is minimum 2 days, and he says you can redeem it after 2 days. The Gemara says you're right. He says that Yomim means 2 days. However, Yomim in this case, when we're comparing someone who cuts his hair, obviously can't mean 2 days, because the person who's cutting his hair is cutting his hair as the pasuk describes about Avshalom because it was too heavy, it was too overgrown. It doesn't get overgrown in 2 days. He couldn't have cut his hair every 2 days. So it has to be referring to the rest of the pasuk about the Rechoma, which is that you have up till 12 months. So you have a minimum of 2 days have to pass, and you have a maximum of 12 months to pass. That is when you can redeem the house. And therefore the halacha over here is learned from the 12-month part of that halacha. Okay, so now the Gemara has a number of other sources which can tell us what the word Yamim means. The Gemara says, well, first of all, maybe Yamim means 2 years. Like it says, Vayihi Mikates Shnosayim Yamim. It was at the end of 2 years. That's in the pasuk describing the redemption of Yosef from the cell, from the prison underground. So over there it says Yamim, and it clearly says Shnosayim Yamim. So Gemara says no, you're not going to derive Yamim that's written without anything else from Yamim where it says clearly Shanim, where it says Shnayim or Shnosayim. If it says 2, you most then that's not comparable to this. Okay, the next question is that there's a pasuk where it says then Yom clearly means 30 days because it says Ad Chodesh Yamim, discussing the Slav. Gemara says, no, you're not going to learn regular plain Yamim from Chodesh Yamim. Chodesh Yamim specifies what it is. The Gemara says, okay, maybe learn it from Yamim Yamima. It says that the daughters of Yisrael would mourn the daughter of Yiftach HaGiladi Arbaz Yamim Mashana, 4 days a year, Yamim Yamima, that are from time to time. And the assumption is that it was 4 equal time periods. It was 4 times a year. So therefore, it must have been every 3 months. So Yamim, therefore, should mean 3 months. So Gemara says, you're not going to learn Yamim from Yamim Yamima. Yamim Yamima is a different phrase. Gemara says, why not? Why can't you learn Yamim from Yamim Yamima? What's the difference? We have, in the Parsha of Tzeras, we learn Uva HaKohen and Vishav HaKohen. The Kohen will return and the Kohen will go. And both of them mean similar things. And we say that based on that, you can learn a Gzeir Shava between the two. So if you could make a Gzeir Shava between Uba and Vishav, you could make a Gzeir Shava between Yamim and Yamim Yamima. Someone says, you're right, you could make a Gzeir Shava, but over here you have a better thing to make a Gzeir Shava. It's preferable to make a Gzeir Shava to a situation, to a pasuk where there is no difference in the phraseology and it just says Yamim, it doesn't say Yamim Yamima. And therefore Rebbe is going to learn that it is to Batei Uri Chlema. Now, the Gemara has another approach to answer this, and the Gemara says you could not have learned from the daughters of Yisrael that were mourning for Yiftach HaGiladi, because over there, even though it says 4 days a year, it doesn't say that they were equal time periods. So you don't know that it was 3 months. Here, however, we're talking about someone cutting his hair, those have to be equal time periods. It wouldn't make sense otherwise, because the person is cutting his hair because it gets heavy. That's exactly what it says of Shalom did. It becomes overgrown, and it logically becomes overgrown at the same time because it grows at a constant speed. Right now, the Gemara goes to the opinion of Rav Nahorai, who said that Avshalom cut his hair once every 30 days. So the Gemara says you learn that from Kohanim. Kohanim had to cut their hair every 30 days because they became overgrown, and their hair, it's also because it becomes overgrown, so logically it's the same halacha. Rabbi Yossi's opinion was that it's once a week on Erev Shabbos. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Yossi is saying that all princes cut their hair once a week on Erev Shabbos, so then Avshalom is no different than any other prince. Him and his brothers, the other princes, were all the same. So what is the significance of his Nazirus? So there are a couple of differences. First of all, he couldn't shave on Erev Yom Tov if it was in the middle of the week, because he can only shave on a Friday. It had to grow to at least the length of a week. The other difference is he couldn't shave in the morning because he had to bring karbanis first. And therefore the other ones could shave in the morning of the Friday, and he could only shave, they could shave whenever they want, but they would standard shave in the morning of that Friday, and they'd take a haircut, that is, but he would only take a haircut later. All right, now the Gemara just asks, the pasuk which we quoted said that this was after 40 years. What 40 years? What 40 years from what? So Gemara says it couldn't be 40 years from the beginning of Malchus Beis David, because David only reigned for 40 years, and he reigned for some time after this happened. So the Gemara says it's 40 years from the time that Klal Yisrael asked for a melech, which was 5 years earlier. Which the Gemara says in the 10th year of Shmuel Haramazi, Shmuel HaNavi, of him being the shofet, which was 40 years before this incident happened. So over there they asked for it, and this is 40 years later, and that is where the concept of 40 years comes from. All right, now we get to the next Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses a standard Nazir. So if somebody makes Nazirus without specifying how long it's going to be, so Mishnah says that goes for 30 days. The Gemara begins, the Gemara asks, what is the source of this halacha that minimum Nazirus is, that standard Nazirus, that is 30 days? So the Gemara gives two sources. The machlok is between Rav Masna and Bar Pada. So Rav Masna says it comes from the pasuk Kadosh Yiheh, it should be holy for Yiheh. Yiheh is gematria 30, so 30 days. Bar Pada says because the word Nazir or Nizra is mentioned 29 times in the Torah, and therefore his Nazirus is really 29 days, and the 30th day is the day in which he brings the Karbanos, and that's why the Mishnah says 30 days is the total. All right, now the Gemara is going to have kashas on all of them. So the Gemara asks, why doesn't Rav Masna want to say, like Bar Pada, that it's from the word Nazir mentioned 30 times? The Gemara says, well, because some of those 29 mentions, 29, not 30, some of those 29 mentions are used for other drashas. So you can't count all of them. Like you have Miyayin V'Shechar Yazir, which teaches me that you are aser to drink even wine. That it's a mitzvah to drink if you're a Nazir. Or it says Kiafli Lindor Nezer Nazir Lahazir, which teaches that a Nazir can be chal on top of another Nazir. So you see the word Nazir many times mentioned in the Torah is needed for drashas, so you can't use that as part of your count of 29. So Gemara says no. Bar Pada will answer, you only need one. You only need one to be used as a drasha. That shows, that's the extra word, and that teaches that the drasha and all the other ones, all the other 29 are all meant, although they're used for drashas, but this one is the one that has to be extra for the drasha to teach that you count the number of words, and that's how long the Naziris is for. Okay, now the Gemara has a number of kashas on Bar Pada, and then a number of kashas on Rav Masna. So on Bar Pada, the Gemara first asks, like we said, why does it say in the Mishnah 30 days if the number of Naziris is only 29? And the Gemara answers, because on day 30, he brings his karbanos. So the Gemara has a kasha on that from a brisa. The brisa says clearly, if somebody says, I am a Nazir, then he brings his karbanos and he shaves on day 31. You're telling me that it has to be, that it could be already on day 30 because the Naziris is over on day 29. If the Naziris, the last day of Naziris is day 29, why should he wait till day 31? So it's a kasha on Bar Pada. So Gemara answers, Bar Pada will tell you, hold on a second, look at the Seifa. The rest of the Mishnah says that if he goes ahead and he shaves and brings his karbanos on day 30, that's also good. Is that proof to me? You see that day 30 is not part of his Naziris. How could he shave and bring a karban then if it was part of his Naziris? So what then is the pshat in the ratio? Why does it say you have to wait till day 31? So Bar Pada says it's a gzera d'Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said many people are going to say 30 days. The standard, if you don't list any days, is 29, but some people will say 30. And many people will say 30 because they like to use a round number. And if they say 30, then we also say 30 complete days. If they say 30 complete days, then it's got to wait for day 31. Because that would happen often, and people would also be used to bringing it on day 30, people will get mixed up and end up bringing it on day 30, even in a situation where they said 30 complete days. To avoid the problem, we said everybody, even a standard who really could bring it on day 30 because he's over after day 29, has to wait till day 31, because that is the real halacha of someone who said 30 complete days. All right, now the Gemara says, what is Rav Masna going to do with the Seifa? According to Rav Masna, that it's only over on 30 complete days, so you shouldn't be able to bring a bonus till day 31. How come if he brings B'di'evet on day 30, it's good? So my answer is, Rav Masna tells Miktas Yom Kikule, part of the day counts as the whole day. As long as he did part of day 30, he already is Yoytze day 30, and he can start bringing his bonus already. So Gemara asks if that's true, that you say Miktas Hayoim Kikulei, and the 30th day counts even if he brings the karbanos on that day. So then, what's the reason that if he says Harini, the Brisa says in this next phrase, if he says I am a Nazir for 30 days, then he can't bring a karban on day 30. He has to wait for day 31. Why not? He has his 30 days. So my answer is true, but if he had said Shleishim Yom Shleimim, 30 complete days, then you couldn't say Miktas Yom Kikule. And therefore, the Mishnah is talking about that case where he said Shleimim, and that's why he couldn't bring it on day 30. He has to wait for day 31. There is no Miktas Yom Kikule in that case. The Gemara has more kashas from other Mishnayos, but we will leave those for the next daf.